Very good morning. We are live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Coming up in the next 30 minutes, India is set to launch the first space-based observatory mission, Aditya-L1, to study the sun from Sriharikota this morning. Typhoon Saula makes landfall in South China's Guangdong province. Hundreds of flights cancelled, thousands of people evacuated. And in Asia Cup Cricket, India to face arch rival Pakistan this afternoon in Sri Lanka's Pallekele. After the successful lunar mission of Chandrayaan-3, India's space agency ISRO is all set to launch the country's maiden solar mission, which is Aditya-L1. The spacecraft is designed to provide remote observations of the solar corona, which is the outermost part of the sun, and to look at solar wind at L1, which is about 1.5 million kilometers from the Earth. DD India's Aisha Khanum has more.
Aditya-L1 is all set to take off from Satish Dhawan Space Center spaceport from Sriharikota. The countdown has begun, which will blast the mission to reach in L1 late-range halo orbit of the sun in over 4 months. These are the scientists at the Indian Institute of Astrophysics who are looking forward to the launch, as the largest payload in the mission, VLC, is designed by them. This payload, besides other 6 payloads, will study the plasma, magnetic field and coronal emissions, which are referred as sun flares.
Once it reaches the L1, there is Lagrange 1 point in the space. So after some stipulated days of the time, when all the other payloads, contaminations and other things are settled down, then this door will be opened. This door, entrance aperture door, will be opened. This will be deployed this way, and then our heaters will be turned on inside. So our decontamination heater will heat all these elements inside, and whatever it has accumulated during the journey, that will be blown off.
After the launch, it reaches the orbit. Within 20 minutes it goes to the orbit. From there this cruise phase will start. So the cruise phase will be around 108 days to 109 days to reach that L1 intended orbit. Once if it is reached there, and we will be starting this calibration procedures. There is a set of procedure to open the multi-operational door to take the first image of the sun.
We will operate the electronics step by step. So since it has 4 detectors, so we will operate the detectors one by one, check the basic health of the detector, are they functioning, they are recording the data, and data is coming seamlessly through the ground. So one by one this is done. So we have linear scan mechanism retarder also inside. The air motion also will be checked step by step. That's why the professor also told, or it is told, at the end of February, when everything we see, everything is working properly, we will getting the images of the sun, solar corona, in the end of the February.
While the principal investigator of the VLC project, Dr. Jagdev Singh, says the study of the sun is important to throw light on mystery of solar activities inside the sun surface. The IIA will start receiving data and pictures of the corona activities and solar flares relayed by the camera on board the VLC.
These are the astrophysicists who are working on this payload, and this payload will definitely throw light on the mysteries that is there within the sun and the activities within the sun, and perhaps this will be a milestone in India's quest for reaching closer to sun.
Over 1400 pictures a day can be received, which means a huge tranche of data can be gathered with this payload.
Once the raw data comes to this center, the VLC part of the data alone will be coming to IIA, to the payload operation center. And here our astronomers will be applying the algorithms we have been developing to analyze, to kind of make the data fit for scientific analysis.
The major science objectives of Aditya-L1 are to study coronal heating and solar wind acceleration, solar atmosphere and solar wind distribution and temperature anisotropy. The project also includes solar mass ejections. The change in electromagnetic field due to the sun's activity may lead to damage to the satellites in space and also cause power outages in electrical and communication network on Earth. Aditya-L1 will unravel the mystery behind all these events. ISRO is the third agency after NASA and ESA undertaking similar missions. Asha Khanam for DD India, Bangalore.
And during the countdown for India's first solar mission, Aditya-L1, former commander of the International Space Station, Chris Hadfield, hailed India's rise in space sciences and said people are counting on technology. And the former commander said India is in really strong position to push forward space exploration in an economic way.
It's not so much a space race as it is a new space opportunity for everybody. And now the race is really who can push the technology in an economic way to turn it into profitable space businesses for each of the companies and each of the countries involved. And India is in a really strong, leveraged position to do that. And I think Prime Minister Modi has seen that for several years. You know, he is very much directly involved with the Indian Space and Research Organization, with ISRO. So yeah, it's a really smart move, I think, on India's leadership's part right now to be pushing it, to be developing it, but also being in the process of privatizing it so that the businesses and therefore the Indian people can benefit.
All right, we'll keep giving you updates on Aditya-L1, but for the time being, let's now talk about the mega build-up to the G20 summit in Delhi. All right, looking ahead to the G20 summit and at some of the member nations leaders taking part, those who make up the G20 club, who they are and their road to the leadership. So, Recep Tayyip Erdogan is the president of the Republic of Turkey. He was born in Istanbul in 1954 and graduated from Marmara University. He entered politics at a young age and quickly moved up the ranks, becoming the provincial head of the Welfare Party in his early 30s. He became mayor of Istanbul and less than 10 years later established the Justice and Development Party known as the AK Party. He first became Prime Minister in 2003 and then President in 2014 and has remained in power ever since. All right, a key feature of India's G20 presidency has been a push to improve learning outcomes and focusing on education as a pathway to skills and training. As Kriti Vadhera reports, the G20 educational working groups prioritize digital transformation.
They are India's digital pioneers, and like their country, they are dreaming big. It might look like a classroom, but it's inside a bus, a gift from Israel. Digital devices, computers and phones aren't a surprise to India's children, but millions are now ready to take even bigger steps in their education. Their enthusiasm to explore technology is clear. For them and India, it's a revolution.
My name is Kim Kim and I study in class 1. I like to study maths and computers.
I'm Sushant. I am from class 2. I really enjoy here.
Teaching learning process has become easier with the help of technology.
With the help of the technology, the teaching learning process has become so easier that the children, those who had a phobia for mathematics, they had taken so much interest.
But this digital revolution in learning was shaped by one of world's deadliest crises, COVID-19, forced children to stay at home and hindered their education. Lessons learnt in the pandemic have transformed education digitally. Online courses, online exams, digital textbooks, animations have become the new normal.
Making the real dream of Digital India campaign 2015 onwards, we have Digital India campaign, and also realizing our Honorable Prime Minister's goal of reaching out to a large number of audience and developing their skills, where he says through this kind of digital education, skill, scale and speed in India can be achieved.
Unlike their grandparents and parents, these young children have learned the use of technology in classrooms. Books and blackboards are replaced by digital devices, and indeed the use of technology is giving them wings to fly high in educational world. A new generation is using new tools to empower themselves and India. Kriti Vadhera for DD India.
And continuing with our series on previous G20 summits, today we look back to the 2009 London meeting. The main focus for world leaders then was their continuing global economic crisis. Urvashi Kapoor explains.
In 2009, the world was confronted with the worst financial crisis since the Second World War. After United States, the second G20 summit was held in London in the backdrop of the meltdown. On agenda was discussion on financial markets and the world economy under the host leader Gordon Brown. But there was growing unrest among people due to the ever-growing severity of the global economic crisis. And in the run-up to the London summit, thousands of people marched across London to demand jobs, economic justice and concerns over climate change. Under the UK presidency of the G20, leaders pledged to do whatever was necessary to restore confidence, growth and jobs. They decided to strengthen financial regulation to rebuild trust. They decided to fund and reform international financial institutions to overcome the crisis and prevent future ones. They vowed to promote global trade and investment and reject protectionism. Finally, building of an inclusive and sustainable recovery was agreed upon. Post the London summit, G20 gained recognition globally as the most relevant forum for discussing, planning and monitoring international economic cooperation. Urvashi Kapoor for DD India.
And sustainable development will be top of the agenda for host India at this year's G20 summit. Delhi's drive to provide medical treatment to all through the health and wellness scheme is being touted as an example for the rest of the world. Dibyendu Mondal reports on how India has gone about tackling this challenge.
Rahul is 10 and he's lucky. Until recently, he would have been forced to travel a long way to get treatment for his skin problem. Now the nearest clinic is just 1 kilometer from his home in Uttar Pradesh. The consultation is quick. The medicines to treat him are free, so too the laboratory facilities to examine his blood.
Before, the clinic was far away. We have no cars. So sometimes, the kid's condition deteriorated on the way. Now, the facilities here are so good, we don't have to worry anymore.
It's all a result of the Health and Wellness Center scheme. It was launched 5 years ago to bring basic healthcare to everyone in India. In rural areas, these centers provide medical services they have never had before. The aim? To give people a healthier and longer life. If a patient has a complex problem, the doctors can get help through telemedicine. Patients are connected via video with senior doctors at district hospitals.
We connect the patient to the doctor using the video call. Then the doctor sends his prescription to us and we give the medicines to the patient.